we are talking about American foreign policy and the brutally honest ways in which Donald Trump operates, but also simultaneously the insane ways that Donald Trump operates. As you guys know, yesterday when I started the live stream, I was hit. I was hit like the Pentagon, like the McDonald's in the Pentagon, with a truth bomb, okay? A truth nuke coming from the Trump administration, where, they oftentimes there are a lot of these symbolic condemnation votes that take place in the General Assembly. And the American government did something that I never thought would happen, where basically they turned around and said, hey, we're siding with Russia on this condemnation of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which I thought was wild. It does seem like they are trying to, piece together, like the Trump administration of Russia are trying to piece together some semblance of like mineral extraction arrangement. Obviously, Ukrainian sovereignty is not a point of contention here. Let's be real. It never was. But of course, when I say that, people used to yell at me and say, Hasan, you're, in the pocket of Lottie Poo. That's not how America operates. And I was like, nope, that's exactly how America operates. Guess what? That is precisely how America is operating. It's not unique to Donald Trump. He's just doing things optically differently. That's it. He is, he does not care about trying to massage the narrative and try to make you feel like this is something that you actually wanted in the way that previous administrations certainly did. They still yell at you for that. What do you mean? I know they do, but it's all good. They can keep yelling into the void as much as they want to, but it won't change the reality. Let's continue. Yeah, guess which country voted against the motion with the U.S.? Russia, North Korea, etc. Oh, yeah, Israel. Of course, Israel voted for the motion alongside the United States of America. Come on now. What do you think? Israel is America. Like, yeah, they don't. What do you mean?
His changing stance on the war in Ukraine has been highlighted at the United Nations, where its UN envoy voted twice alongside Russia. First, the two countries opposed a European drafted resolution condemning Moscow's actions and supporting Ukraine's territorial integrity. Then they backed a US resolution calling for an end to the conflict but containing no criticism of Russia. It comes as the French President Emmanuel Macron says a truce between Ukraine and Russia could be agreed in the coming weeks following talks with President Trump in the White House amid straining US-Europe relations. He is the first European leader to visit since Trump's inauguration, ahead of the arrival of the UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer on Thursday. Meanwhile, in France, 2 people have been arrested in relation to an arson attack on the Russian consulate in Marseille on Monday. Prosecutors called the pair major individuals. In Ukraine, air raid alerts have been sounded again today. Overnight, Poland deployed aircraft to secure its airspace after Russia launched strikes targeting western Ukraine. The BBC's Joe Inwood reports.
In northern Ukraine, new troops are still.
This is just a flex. This is Israel stuff, for the record. Like, what Russia is doing is exactly what Israel stuff. The notion that, like, in the midst of a potential ceasefire negotiation that's taken place, Donald Trump is undermining the Ukrainian position in broad daylight, actively, openly, and also while that is happening, the Russians are simultaneously bombing Western Ukrainian positions. It's basically to tell everyone in Ukraine that's paying attention, whether they want to pay attention or not, that this is their reality, that they are, they weren't able to take the entirety of the country by force, but they will certainly cut a deal with America that allows them to take certain parts of the country, whether people disagree with that or not. That's it.
Being trained, even as the war enters its 4th year. The cost has been huge, but this country appears to be holding on. It's done so through the effort of men like Evhen, who says Ukraine is making more of its own weapons and will continue to do so.
It's good to get help from abroad. Help won't last forever. It's here today, it might be gone tomorrow.
And that point has been brought home by the dramatic change in US policy. Once Ukraine's greatest ally...
Zelensky sucking up to Israel got a sting now? Dude, he is not a person, okay? Like, when... I don't know how to describe this. Zelensky has to suck up to Israel. It's not because of genuinely held convictions or whatever. He has to because he is beholden to American interests. He has to do that. Oh God, my ear is ringing. Zelensky has no choice in this process. Israel quite literally refused to give Ukraine. Israel quite literally refused to give Ukraine the Iron Dome when Zelensky was demanding it, when Zelensky was asking for it, begging for it, which is the most understandable thing that you would want in a situation like the Russian invasion. At least to like protect certain areas like Kyiv. You know what I mean? I know that like the Iron Dome only works in small fields and smaller areas, but like you could at least deploy Iron Domes in you know, places like Kyiv or even Western Ukraine. Nope. Israel said nope. We will not let it get to the hands of the Russians, and then by way of the Russians, the Iranians. That was Israel's response. Zelensky was begging for dome pause. Yeah. It is truly wild that you know, after all of this, there's still people that are maintaining this false notion that America has any sort of like real interest in defending Ukraine.
Donald Trump has started repeating Moscow lies about Kyiv starting the war. And so yesterday's visit...
I'm actually curious, is Zelensky a Nazi? Like, does he run a Nazi party? Dog, Zelensky is Jewish. No, he's not a Nazi. What the fuck?
French President
I mean,
Emmanuel
I guess you
Macron.
could be Jewish and a Nazi, but Zelensky is not. Zelensky's a dancer. He's a comedian. Erdogan is a watermelon salesman, and Zelensky is a comedian.
To the White House had extra significance.
Again, the relationship's been very special with France and very special with this gentleman on my right.
They've always got on well, but there were points of disagreement.
Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear.
And that was not the only crack in the transatlantic alliance.
We need to reconfirm that the aggression should be condemned and discredited, not rewarded.
In an extraordinary development at the UN, European countries and the US found themselves backing different resolutions on Ukraine, with America on the same side as Russia, Belarus, and North Korea. While in Kyiv, Ukraine's remaining allies took part in events to commemorate 3 years of war, and talks aimed at ensuring the sacrifices they've made will not have been in vain. Joe Inwood, BBC News.
Well, our Ukraine correspondent James Waterhouse gave more details about the reaction from Kyiv to the talks between Macron and Trump.
Well, we've had no specific reaction to a meeting between Emmanuel Macron and Donald Trump here. Instead, the focus has been on Ukraine's...
MAGA is accidentally becoming communist? Okay, guys, Russia, I need to repeat this for people that don't know this, but Russia is not communist, okay? Russia, as a nation state, is very capitalist, okay? It's not. Vladimir Putin is not a socialist, okay? Russia is not engaging in any action to uphold the principles of Marxist-Leninism. Russia is a kleptocracy, okay? They're commies, Hasan. He's Krasnov. Yeah. Donald Trump. I mean, the DPRK is not even communist. Like, at least in terms of how their election process works. They don't have any. They're not necessarily the most democratic People's Republic of Korea. I would say they're closer to a socialist form of governance than Russia, certainly. Russia is just a kleptocracy. But anyway, whatever. This is completely irrelevant. USA is already a kleptocracy too. Yes, you're not wrong. I lived in Russia for 3 months. It is not communist by any means anymore. It is a fascist state where the media against the government is completely suppressed and has a capitalist economic system. It's run by oligarchs and a kleptocracy, like you said. Yeah, I mean, it's a circumstance for all the Russian people living there, but it is literally a kleptocracy. Anyway, none of that matters in this instance, because ultimately irredentist action or imperialist action from any nation that violates the sovereignty of another is completely unacceptable. It does not matter if it's Russia doing it. It does not matter if it's America doing it. This has been my firmly held commitment and principle in perpetuity. Okay? Having said that, of course, people will make up their own minds regardless. Yeah, it's the same. No, it's China as well. Yes, this also extends to China as well. Okay? It is completely unacceptable to violate the sovereignty of other nations. Okay? Having said that, getting back to the situation at hand. We're obviously entering a very... Putin's main opposition party is communists who have collectives, many local industries since the fall, but still hold little power on the national stage. Ukraine has made anything left of center illegal. They both suck. Yeah, okay. First of all, Putin's main opposition party is communist is a laughable thing to mention, considering that Putin controls even the opposition parties, so their existence is still beholden to Vladimir Putin. And that's precisely the reason why virtually every single one of them signed off on the special military operation. And there was very little criticism of that inside of Russia. Putin in opposition it's nothing. It's not real. Okay? It's not real. It's not a real principled opposition at all. That's not a real thing at all. It's just to make you feel like there's some semblance of democracy. But I would say even Russians would laugh at that notion. It's not real at all. I think that internally within the Politburo, within the Politburo of the Communist Party of China, there is more division and more real opposition, even though it's a one-party structure. Internally, there's more division and more opposition than the Russian the Russian structure, where all of the opposition is basically made up. Yeah, if you are really an opposing figure, you just find yourself maybe falling out of a window at some points. And you're not wrong about Zelensky also obviously going and eradicating any of the parties that were critical of him, at least to the left, claiming that they are pro-Putin and pro-Russia. So you're not wrong about that either. Yes, neither Ukraine nor Russia has a real democratic process, but neither does the United States of America. Let's be real. If it's a sliding scale, however, I would say Putin's Russia is not even comparable in terms of a sliding scale of how far away you are from a real democracy. It's definitely out there. It's further out there than the United States of America, and certainly further out there than even Ukraine. Anyway.
Own rallying cry to its remaining allies as America throws the gauntlet down, really, challenges Europe to try and step up where it is less willing to do so. We're going to see Sir Keir Starmer follow suit, where he will visit Donald Trump in the White House to try and bridge a widening gap between Europe and America. So here, instead, we have seen a continuation, really, of military pledges, an announcement of new sanctions against Russia by the likes of the European Union, and I think it's a departure from the alignment we're seeing, certainly with the United Nations votes we've seen, with the softening of language from Washington.
If you don't think Russia is further away from being a democracy than the USA, I'm sorry, but you are completely oblivious to how things work, both here in the United States of America and also in Russia as well. Okay? No disrespect, but the remainder of the American institutions, okay, and even certain principles like free speech born out of America's status as the global hegemonic superpower have absolutely created some semblance of democratic democratic structures in this country that Russians don't have. Having said that, it doesn't matter. America, pound for pound, is still obviously awful and does a metric ton of evil around the globe. But come on. That's an entirely separate thing. When you're saying USA is doing a genocide at the moment, yeah, I agree with you. You're not wrong about that at all. But we're talking about like the sliding scale of like theoretical democracy and which countries are closer to theoretical democracy versus others. I don't think America is that close to a theoretical democracy either, but I'm saying that it's not even in the same playing field as Russia. I promise you, if it was, and it can become closer to Russia, and it most likely will become closer to Russia in terms of being undemocratic very soon. But you'll know when we get there. Yeah, we were talking about like domestic politics and like what's close to a democratic process, not which country is doing more evil. America, of course, is doing the most violence around the globe. It has the greatest capabilities of doing said violence around the globe.
Washington, here we are still seeing a country still at war and its European allies trying to adopt a stronger stance as possible in the absence of America. But what's reflected, I think, by Emmanuel Macron and Sir Keir Starmer going to Washington is the fact that they still need America for a military assurance if fighting was to break out after a ceasefire was agreed here. But for
the beautiful domes, look at the domes behind them. It's so flat. Ukraine is so flat. You can see the domes.
Now, it seems that more of Ukraine's closer allies are more willing to put boots on the ground, to send troops here to enforce some kind of ceasefire. At the moment, they're keen to stress it wouldn't be in a confrontational capacity, but there is no guarantee that fighting would not break out when you consider that Russia will continue, it looks like, to occupy a fifth of Ukraine, and that would involve a sizable military presence.
James Waterhouse there. Well, joining me now is political commentator, author and journalist Christine Ockrent. Thanks for being with us, Christine. It was fascinating to watch the public interactions yesterday with Macron and Trump. Just first of all, what did you make of the overall, the body language, the precise language from what we saw?
Well, I think there was some effort on both sides to make it look, fairly friendly. No hostile confrontation. But it is obvious that the transatlantic gap is widening. And there was that very interesting moment where Donald Trump, as usual, being carried away by his alternative facts, said, Europeans are getting their money back from Ukraine. And then Macron very calmly put his hand on Trump's arm and said, well, no, Europeans paid 60% of the aid provided to...
Oh, my God, I don't care. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ukraine is cooked. Both Russia and the West are going to carve up the country and turn it into a financial colony for the sole purpose of extracting wealth and resources from the people that remain. My family and so many other Ukrainians have no desire to return, and I don't blame them. Yeah, no, I mean, that was slated to happen no matter what. It's a chicken or the egg situation. Is it Russia trying to enforce its will upon Ukrainian politics first, or was it NGOs and civil society organizations by way of the State Department projecting power in Ukraine and trying to destabilize and bring Ukraine into the Western sphere of influence? It does not matter. What matters is ultimately that the Ukrainian people are going to get over in the process no matter what. And there was very little that they could do to maintain sovereignty, autonomy, and carve a path forward for themselves where they had any say in their own personal politics. Devastating situation. Speaking of chicken or the egg, it is virtually impossible to find eggs now. Holy shit. But that's, Trump's America, baby. You already know. Okay. A Justice Adams cheered with 100 bits, and I have to read this. Trump is behaving exactly as Putin, even repeating his claim on Ukraine as Ukraine started the war, as if he's Putin's robotic follower. How can an independent American president do that? Yes, no real independent American president can do it. Only a Russian spy will do that. We have an illegitimate Russian spy as our president, installed by our presidents Obama and Biden, their attorney generals, national security advisors, CIA, FBI, and DNI directors. It's called Krasnov, baby. It's called Krasnov. That's right. KGB agent. KGB agent Donald Trump. His real name, code name Krasnov. Suka blyat, he's killing America. I love that is like, dude, I get it. Okay. Listen, liberals, listen to me. This is your opportunity. Okay. The Russiagate stuff in 2016, there was real reason to suspect that there was Russian interference in the election. We know that there was, to a certain degree, Russian interference in terms of like ad campaigns and whatnot. But if a couple $1 million of targeted ads is supposed to undermine your democracy, well, then you didn't really have a democracy to begin with. Holy moly. Having said that, however, okay, liberals went above and beyond in terms of like why Hillary Clinton lost, and they wanted to not blame themselves again, so they blamed Russia, right? This moment is the moment where liberals can basically turn around and say, yeah, you know what? We were freaking right. It wasn't even a P-tape. He is ideologically a commie. He is a KGB asset. Because Trump is doing a lot of stuff, even optically, that I would not suspect him to do. Okay? He is. So resist this, liberals. You're eating good, okay? You're eating good. This is your moment. Say whatever you want to say. Yes, Krasnov, KGB, Trump is a Russian asset. I'm there with you. I don't agree, but I think it's fun. It's fun to think that is the truth. Yeah. Oh, here it is. Look. Donald Trump was recruited by the KGB in 1987 and goes by the nickname Krasnov. 40,000 likes, 3.1 million views. Okay. In 1987, I worked in the 6th Department of the KGB at the USSR in Moscow. The most important area of work in the 6th Department was the acquisition of spies and sources of information from among businessmen of capitalist countries. It was in that year that our department recruited a 40-year-old businessman from the USA, Donald Trump, nicknamed Krasnov. Yeah, the author is a former top spy of Kazakhstan. Previously, he was a KGB spy. Scroll it down the original post. I love that. If Republicans can have fun, okay, claiming Barack Obama is a Kenyan Muslim man who is an Al-Qaeda operative for years and years, let the liberals have fun too. Okay, yeah, that's right. He's a communist agent, okay? Donald Trump, the billionaire real estate magnate, the son of a real estate magnate, he is actually secretly... He is not even secretly now. The truth is out there. An actual KGB asset, baby. I love that. I love that. This is the closest I've ever been to saying, you know what, liberals, you're right. Have your fun. Okay. This is your moment to shine. I'm giving it to you. Okay. You won't see me criticize this take. Now that it's been revealed that Trump has been a Russian asset for 40 years named Krasnov by the FSB, I will write simple thread of various pieces of information that solidifies the truth of everything I've written. Please read and share. Okay? That's right.